Okay, so far it's been a wonderful day. We've had quite a few speakers. And next we're going to go into a specific campaign that VOW has been a part of from the beginning. We're looking at the No New Fighter Jets Peace Campaign breakdown with Pitasanna and Laine. So this session will introduce you to the latest activities of the No New Fighter Jets campaign. The campaign is currently working to stop the $77 billion purchase of 88 new carbon-intensive fighter jets. This session will cover recent campaign activities such as the open letter signed by 100 notable Canadians, the parliamentary petition, and cross-national webinar, as well as examine what a future without fighter jets will look like. So I'll introduce you to our peace campaigners who are sponsored by VOW and Science for Peace. Laine was born and raised in Toronto and is an undergraduate student at McGill University. She is currently majoring in political science with a double minor in communication studies and social entrepreneurship. She strives to learn more every day and aims to inspire others to do the same. Laine works with on-campus chapters of Amnesty International, Junior Peacemakers, and Journalists for Human Rights. Through this involvement, Laine has developed a strong interest in human rights, public policy, and nuclear disarmament. As a result of her experience as a youth ambassador with Plan International Canada, Laine has developed a passion for feminist advocacy. In addition, she is a freelance writer specializing in politics and feminism. We are very, very lucky to have her. And next I'll introduce our second peace campaigner, who's sponsored by VOW and with Science for Peace. So Pitasanna is a peace campaign intern right now with us. And he is working on initiatives to pressure the Canadian government to terminate its plan to purchase costly new fighter jets and end its dangerously militaristic agenda. So from September to December 2020, Pitasanna was also an intern for Science for Peace, working on initiatives to achieve a world without nuclear weapons. So Pitasanna recently completed his graduate studies as a Master of Global Affairs student at the University of Toronto's Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy. His moral and political views were strongly influenced by the actions of thinkers like Noam Chomsky, Martin Luther King Jr. in his opposition to the Vietnam War and socioeconomic inequality, Olaf Palm, and Cornel West. So Pitasanna, I think I'm handing it over to you first to introduce the campaign.
Yeah, thank you, Vanessa, for that lovely introduction. So to provide a brief background history, 2 years ago, the Liberal government launched a multi-billion-dollar competition for a new combat aircraft, and the government is looking at 3 bids: Lockheed Martin's F-35 stealth fighter, Boeing's Super Hornet, and Saab's Gripen. Early next year, the government expects to choose the successful bid and award the contract. The fighter, it's worth highlighting, the fighter jet purchase is the second most expensive federal procurement in Canadian history. The sticker price for the 88 fighter jets is $19 billion. However, the life cycle cost for the combat aircraft, considering costs related to the maintenance and upkeep of the fighter jets, has been estimated as high as $77 billion. Canadian fighter jets in the past, they've been used to bomb other countries. For instance, Canadian CF-18s have conducted countless number of airstrikes in Serbia, Libya, Syria, Iraq, killing innocent people and destroying civilian infrastructure. Moreover, the new fighter jets will worsen the climate crisis as they consume excessive fossil fuel. The purchase of these fighter jets will prevent us from reaching our targets for the Paris Climate Agreement, and the Department of National Defense has no plans to offset these military emissions. So as a member, as a peace campaigner with the Canadian Voice of Women for Peace, and Science for Peace, Laine and myself were part of the No New Fighter Jet Coalition, which is a broad network of organizations that are opposed to the Canadian government's plans to purchase the 88 new fighter jets. And we've both been working on initiatives to compel the government to terminate its plans to purchase these costly, futile, and environmentally destructive fighter jets, and instead use that $77 billion to invest in critical areas such as a green economy, in indigenous communities, many of those nations do not have clean drinking water, and also invest in many of our vulnerable communities. The No New Fighter Jets Coalition has received countless statements voicing opposition to the government's plans to purchase these fighter jets, and we've shared these statements on our social media networks. So I'm just gonna show you just a brief clip of the many statements that we've received from Canadians across the nation. So yes, those were statements of opposition that we received from just Canadians across the country. Clearly, many Canadians feel that this is a futile purchase and that money could be invested in more important matters. In May of this year, members of the No New Fighter Jets Coalition, they organized a parliamentary petition. They organized a parliamentary petition, and this graphic that you see here on the left, that was created by Laine, who does amazing graphics for us. We created a parliamentary petition, and the petition was sponsored by Member of Parliament Paul Manley. And in that petition, we called for the House of Commons to firstly cancel the $19 billion competition to purchase 88 new combat aircraft. Secondly, to include all of the carbon emissions from the Department of National Defense's military vehicles and operations in the federal government's greenhouse gas emission reduction plan and net zero plan. And thirdly, to invest in a conversion plan that will create thousands of jobs in the green economy and the care economy to help transition away from fossil fuels and the armed forces. And the petition received overwhelming support from Canadians across the country, over 1,000, as you can see, over 1,139 signatures from Canadians across the country. And the petition was introduced by Paul Manley in Parliament shortly before the House went to recess. So this is just a very brief clip of Paul Manley introducing the petition.
Pitasanna, I don't think we have audio for the video. You're gonna have to share your audio as well.
Okay. Oh, thanks for letting me know. Okay, I was wondering. Okay, thanks.
Petitions, the honourable member for the Nanaimo Ladysmith.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have two petitions today. It's a privilege to table e-petition 3433 with 1,139 signatures from Canadians across the country. The petitioners are concerned about the government's plan to purchase 88 new fighter jets for a cost of $19 billion and an estimated full cycle cost of $76.8 billion. They note that this purchase will divert funding from other critical areas and that these jets are weapons of aggression rather than defense. They also note that the Department of National Defense is the largest emitter of greenhouse gases among all the federal departments, but that operations are exempt from the federal government's GHG emissions reduction plan. The petitioners call upon the House of Commons to cancel the $19 billion competition to purchase the 88 new combat aircraft, include all of the carbon emissions from the Department of National Defense military vehicles and operations in the federal government's GHG emission reduction plan and net zero plan, and invest in a conversion plan that will create thousands of jobs in the green economy and the care economy to help transition Canada away from fossil fuels and armed force.
And Parliament, the House went on recess shortly after that. So our campaign succeeded in just ending off things with a bang.
Presenting petitions.
And so VOW and Science for Peace, as part of the No New Fighter Jets Coalition, we organized a webinar in July called Resisting Fighter Jets at Home and Abroad, with activists from Wisconsin, Vermont, Israel, and Canada opposed to the procurement, basing, and use of fighter jets. So speakers during the webinar discussed the environmental impact of fighter jets, the noise pollution of fighter jets, which can have a significant neurological impact. Our Israeli speaker, Yonatan Shapira, was a helicopter pilot in the Israeli Air Force, and he stressed the damage that Israel has inflicted with its fighter jets on, especially in the recent conflict in Gaza, and stressed the futility for Israel to have so many fighter jets. And he talked about the futility for Canada to procure fighter jets. And this is a small, short video containing a small excerpt from one of the speeches, which one of the speakers during the webinar, Dr. John Ruwer, who's a medical doctor and a board member of World Beyond War. This is a small speech that he gave opposing, he's also opposing the basing of fighter jets in Burlington, Vermont.
War is a glorious adventure that saves everything that is good in the world, and it creates jobs. So what's there not to like? And that simple message is the biggest obstacle, because there are so many things wrong with these machines that you've heard about so much today. That you've heard about so much today, that getting all that information out takes a lot of time, and people need simple messages. So I won't go over all these. We could give a talk on each one, how ridiculously expensive. Your lifetime cost is $77 billion. Ours is $1.5 trillion. 6,600 people are going to be living in a noise zone, mostly people of color and disadvantaged people live in a place where our Federal Aviation Administration says nobody should live in that noisy a place. The crash risks with the toxicities, the incredible fuel consumption, the pollution that comes from that. They're made for war, clearly nuclear war, with this new B-6112 variable yield nuclear weapon that's so usable. They can't protect us from any 21st century threats. And I wanted to add to the conversation here. You hear, well, we could have schools, we could have healthcare, we could fight the pandemic. All that's very true, but we could also fight perceived enemies better. We can engage with China and Russia and Iran and Syria in ways that are a lot less costly to keep them from hurting anybody than just proving to them that violence is the way to get what you want. And finally, the other thing I think we could do a lot better is hammer away at this economy argument. So military spending is the least effective way of creating any jobs. So you hear, oh, it's going to create this many jobs. Well, studies from the University of Massachusetts in Amherst and from Brown's Cost of War project shows that every billion put into the military costs the economy between 3 and 10. It could be as high as many as 15,000 jobs per billion. So the 77 billion that your country wants to spend is going to cost between 400,000 and 1 million jobs over its lifetime. Jobs that would absolutely exist, according to economists, if you didn't buy the F-35 or the Gripen or whichever you're going to buy.
Yeah, when we shared this video on our social media networks talking about how the $77 billion the Canadian government wants to spend to purchase these 88 fighter jets, the fact that it'll cost between 400,000 to 1 million jobs in our lifetime, that got a lot of responses from Canadians across the country, and they were rightly outraged. And this is the futility of purchasing these fighter jets is a message that we want to get across, that that money could be better spent towards far more important things. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it on to my colleague Laine, and she will take it from here. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Pitasanna, for going over our first part of the presentation. I am going to share my screen. Oh, I am not able to share my screen. Pitasanna, would it be possible for you to continue sharing the PowerPoint?
Sure.
I also just made you a co-host, Laine, so you're able to now.
Oh, okay, then that would be great. Okay, everybody can just let me know whether they can see my screen or not. Okay, that's fantastic. So I can go over a little bit of what we've been doing so far. So one thing that I would like to talk about, and that a lot of people have probably heard about, is our open letter on no new fighter jets. So we created this open letter as a joint effort between VOW and the Canadian Foreign Policy Institute. And we basically decided back in the end of May that we wanted to write an open letter to Canadian politicians, and we wanted to get notable Canadians to sign on to this open letter, really also to put more pressure on politicians, but to bring this issue to light of everyday Canadians. As peace activists or environmental activists, a lot of us understand how dangerous this purchase is, and we understand that it's important to stop it. But everyday Canadians who may not be as involved in these fields probably don't know that this campaign is even going on. So that's why we wanted to see if we could get some celebrities and other notable Canadians to join us in the campaign for no new fighter jets. So I am just going to play a video. I'm going to have to share my sound as well. Oh, it's not letting me do both at once. I apologize for the technical difficulties, everyone. So, I'm so sorry, it's playing again. So the context of this video that we created was actually a result of this open letter. So after we had written the open letter, we did some form of a soft launch, and we reached out to as many notable Canadians as we could to inform them that the No Fighter Jets campaign exists, for one, and also that we think that their help is needed to get the government to stop this purchase. So we actually had over 100 famous Canadians sign on to this open letter. Some ones who were extremely notable. We had Neil Young, we had David Suzuki, Tegan and Sarah, and these, I'm just listing everybody who's in this photo here as well. So we had Tegan and Sarah, we had Naomi Klein, we had Clayton Thomas Mueller, we had Monia Manzing, we had Elizabeth May, Ingrid Waldron, Stephen Lewis as well, among others. And we had all of these people from different fields. A lot were musicians or environmentalists or academics or doctors and filmmakers, all coming together to tell the government that they should stop this fighter jet purchase. I do believe that someone linked the No Fighter Jets open letter in the chat already, but if they haven't, I can put it in the chat after. I would encourage all of you to read it. It really goes over what our campaign is aiming for, and just again influences or encourages the government to stop this purchase, while also introducing everyday Canadians to the language and to this campaign. So it was really a way to get our message out there in a kind of a new way, other than just using social media or webinars as well. And currently we are going to do a secondary launch where we're looking for groups to sign on to the open letter. So if you do have, if you are a part of a group that you feel would be able to contribute to this campaign for no new fighter jets, even in the form of just putting your name on this letter to say that you agree that we should stop this $77 billion purchase, I can link a form in the chat. and we'll be able to send it, and then you can actually, or I believe Pitasanna or Vanessa may have linked it, but then you can sign that on behalf of your organization, and we can include that on our list of signatories. We really want to get cross-Canadian support so that we can build both our base and keep putting pressure on the government, especially during this election season. So another aspect of our campaign that's been really important, especially during like COVID, when we can't necessarily organize in public, especially over the course of, I would say, November to April, when it wasn't necessarily safe to be in large groups. We actually took to social media a lot. And so you can see across the screen, we have a lot of different social media strategies. So on the left side of the screen, we have, it's a screenshot from a video that was on the VOW Twitter that we created, kind of showing the press coverage that we got for the open letter. So all of those photos, all those are screenshots of different headings from press that we got when we launched the open letter. It was great because we had a few op-eds, we had other people reporting on it. Sarah Harmer also signed on to the open letter and gave an interview about how she was against this purchase, which was really great because it got us a lot of media attention as well. In the middle, you can see this is just one of our campaigns, and it's kind of looking at if we stopped this fighter jet purchase, what could we purchase instead? In this example, we're looking at the investments in the Department of Women and Gender Equality versus fighter jets. In other ones, we've looked at the Indigenous water crisis versus fighter jets and how we could continuously fund it, I think nearly 4 times over if we didn't even buy these fighter jets in the first place. And so if you would like to learn more about that side of our campaign and looking at investments, you can check out the VOW website. And then on the right side, we have the testimonials that were in the video Pitasanna showed at the beginning. And so what these testimonials were is we reached out to activists, community members, other people who are also in the No Fighter Jets Coalition, and we asked them to say why they were either protesting or why they were calling for no new fighter jets. And so we were able to compile all of these testimonials together and post them, and then they were reposted by different groups. We had a few Green Party members as well who gave us testimonials, and they were retweeted. And so we really got a lot of support that way as well. And then kind of looking forward, this is wrapping up my side of the presentation. VOW has just launched a campaign for Elect Peace. We are in an election right now, we're in an election period, and we really, really want to make sure that our politicians know that we want to make peace. No, we don't want to make peace a back burner issue. We want to make it something that's important to us, and that's looking at stopping the fighter jet procurement in combination with pushing for disarmament. And so we can talk also a little bit more later about our Elect Peace toolkit, which will be available soon. But that is basically a document of questions you can ask your MPs, questions you can bring to town halls, ways you can support the movement for peace during an election. And we're really just hoping that we can get a lot of ground this way, working with both disarmament initiatives and the No New Fighter Jets Coalition to really push these issues to the forefront of the election. And then our last slide that I have here is just how you can get involved in our coalition. So on the left, you can see our different social media handles. I would encourage you to either like or follow. And one easy way to support that doesn't involve too much time is just retweeting or reposting or sharing our links with people in your circles. And that's a really easy way to spread the word as well. We also have an email list and a Facebook group that you can join if you'd like to get more involved in meetings or if you would like to come out to our events as well. We're hoping that as things become safer and everyone gets the chance to be vaccinated, we'll be able to have more in-person events, hopefully around the election as well. And that we can plan either through a Facebook group or through our individual meetings, which usually would happen on Zoom. And if you would like to get involved that way, you can feel free to either sign up on our email list, which is available on the No Fighter Jets website, or you can join our Facebook group, which is linked, or which is not linked there, but that is the name of the group. I'm not sure how much time we have left, but if there are any questions, I know I would fully be open to them, and Pitasanna would be as well, I would assume. And I want to thank everyone today for listening to us. Also thank VOW and Science for Peace for giving me and Pitasanna the opportunity to step into this role this summer. It's been we've learned a lot. We've been able to cover a lot of ground, and I hope that you learned a little bit about it today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Laine and Pitasanna, for your amazing presentation. I love the videos. Laine, you've made amazing graphics for the campaign, and Pitasanna, your video editing skills are awesome. They've really added quite a lot to the campaign, and we really appreciate all the work that you both have done for us. So there is an opening now for any questions. If anybody is interested in a particular part of the campaign, or if any interesting things came up, we're open to comments. So the floor is open right now if anybody has anything to say. No, everybody's good. It was very comprehensive. You had a shorter session, but you really packed a lot in there, I must say. Okay, well, it looks like you've answered all the questions, unless Janice or Linda. Oh, Janice, I see your hand up.
Since I've got UN on my mind, I think the UN person who's head of its disarmament division, a Japanese national, Izumi Nakamitsu, she might be very interested in the effort that's being made here. So I recommend that you think about possibly telling her the details of your actions. I mean, this is her world. It's the world of disarmament and non-military security. And Vanessa would be able to tell you how to make that connection. We have an email for her. We have visited her in her office. She knows us. That's it.
Thanks, Janice. It's true, and she has been very involved in getting youth involved in disarmament. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, there's also a hashtag Step Up for Disarmament campaign going on right now, particularly aimed at youth. So this might be a very useful time to try to get maybe an endorsement or something like that from her for this campaign. Taylor, I do see your hand up. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, hi Janice, I'm the disarmament and contacting her is on my list of things to do. So I'm hoping that works out, just to kind of connect with the disarmament campaign.
Okay, awesome. It's all coming together. Okay, any other final questions, comments before we break for 10 minutes? And when we come back, we will be getting into the disarmament agenda for Canada, which Taylor will lead. So if there's nothing further, I'll stop the recording and we'll see you all in 10 minutes.